Sponsored by DCP Player, a simple way to view a DCP on any Windows-based PC.
Now we're going to look at the larger exhibitors and how they've approached this. Again, there are ways in which you can do this. You can do it on your own, you can do it as a team, part of another wider grouping. And to do that, we've got James Kang from DCK in Korea. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. I'm James Kang, Director of DCK Korea. I will present our case of the cinema development in Korea. I'm honored to be invited to this prestigious occasion. I thank NATO for giving me this wonderful opportunity. Okay, today I will share how DCK made a significant contribution to the digital transition in the Korean cinema market. I will also explain DCK's mission, background of DCK's inception, and what kind of challenges we faced while trying to start this business, and how we can overcome them. I will go introduce our business structure and share the results of our business efforts as well as our plan for the future. Finally, I will provide some tips and suggestions based on our 3 years operations experience for those who are planning similar ventures or are considering to join the BFL initiative. Okay. DCK is a joint venture company created by CJ, CGV, and Lotte Cinema, the number 1 and 2 cinema companies respectively in Korea. In other words, DCK is similar to DCIP in its purpose. It was started with an initial capital of roughly $3 million. The co-presidency is shared by one representative from CGV and one from Lotte Cinema. As of 2010, CGV has 806 screens in Korea, which make up 40% of the market. And Lotte Cinema has 478 screens, which make up 24%. The combined share is 64% of the Korean market, and DCK basically aims at supplying these two exhibitors. And CGV's affiliates, CJ Entertainment and Lotte Cinema, are the number 1 and number 2 distributors in Korea. Both companies have similar structure in the sense that they are vertically integrated. Here is an overview of the Korean cinema market. At the end of 2010, Korean population was 51 million, and the total number of admissions was 147 million, which translates to roughly each moviegoer going to the movies 3 times per year. The box office revenue is approximately $1 million a year, which makes Korea one of the top 10 countries in terms of revenue. The number of screens is 2,003, and about 60% of them, 1133, are digital screens. To my knowledge, this places Korea at the top in terms of speed of digital transition. We began the digital transition 2 years behind other countries, but we could move to the forefront for 2 reasons. Number 1, as you know, Korea is strongly committed to IT and digital transformation. Number 2, DCK was established just when the Korean market had reached the consensus for the digital transition, which greatly helped accelerate this transition. And now I would like to tell you how DCK came about and its history. Since 2006, I have been trying to figure out how to initiate the deployment business while I was working at CGV. I was considering some form of joint effort similar to the DCIP model because I knew the risk if CGV and Lotte Cinema pursue deployment business independently. After drafting a business proposal and consulting within CGV, I met with the executive from Lotte Cinema and presented him with the proposal for the joint business. Although CGV and Lotte Cinema had been fierce competitors in the past, I managed to persuade him by explaining the DCK case and stressing the mutual benefits of the joint effort to both companies. Eventually, Lotte Cinema responded positively to the proposal, and that led to creation of a joint task force team made up of 2 members from each company in June 2007. The task force team carefully studied the market and business viability for the next 3 months, and then submitted a report in October. Both companies then agreed to the findings of the report and came to a decision to form a joint venture. It took another 2 months of legal process to establish a cooperation, and in January 2008, DCK was finally born. Up to this point, the business was sailing forward unhindered. However, we ran into some major challenges, which were both internal and external. On the external side, the biggest problem we faced was strong opposition from the markets largely due to the lack of understanding of the joint business model. Production companies and distributors balked at the idea of subsidizing the cost of digital transition via a familiar business model called BPF. Other theater operators expressed a strong opposition because they believed CGV and Lotte Cinema were trying to consolidate their dominant position through joint business. Post-production companies issued a statement vehemently complaining about potential loss of business as a result of DCK's digital deployment. In order to resolve these issues, DCK made a great effort to meet with distributors and theaters individually over the ensuing year to persuade them of the merits of the new business model. In 2008, DCK also participated in forums mediated by the Korean Film Council for discussion among the production companies, distributors, and theater operators. In 2009, DCK attended at the public hearing held by the Korean National Assembly and explained the business model on the public stage. Since the establishment of DCK in January 2008, it took more than 18 months to overcome the old hurdles and begin business operations. The second challenge came from the worldwide financial crisis in 2008, which created a very heavy burden for the finance company supporting DCK. For this reason, DCK had endured 4 months of financing difficulty. In addition, exchange rate sharply moved out of favor for DCK, causing investment costs to rise. All of these stress factors posed a significant threat to our business activities and forced us to re-evaluate the viability of the business model. We eventually overcame the issues through hedging options against the exchange rate risk and by renegotiating payment conditions with equipment suppliers. The next topic is the internal issue we had related to operational stability due to equipment errors in the first 6 months from launch. The main reason for this were because projectionists were inexperienced in operating digital equipment, and equipment vendors lacked efficient service system and repair process. Because of such instability, the satisfaction level of theater operators was lower than expected. Fortunately, the capability of the projectionist and service technician in terms of dealing with the errors improved over time. The error rate decreased a stable figure of 0.5%. However, we are always working to reduce the number and downtimes by working closely with equipment manufacturers. Okay, I will now explain our basic business structure. The slide illustrates contractual structure among our major partners, and it could be said that this is the backbone of our business. First, we have the virtual BPF contract with studio studios and local distributors. Then there are the equipment rental supply contract with the theater operators, and there are also lease contract with a finance company, and finally, equipment purchase and service contract with the vendors. These contracts are interdependent and organically linked one another. Here is a brief summary of what is included in our contract with the involved parties. Since the specific terms are confidential, so I will only illustrate what is covered in each contract in general language. Contract with Hollywood studios include a rollout period and number of deployed screens, prepaid payment period, payment conditions, cost recruitment, and release commitment. Contract with the theater operators include equipment rental period, theater's contribution, exhibition commitment, installation and service terms. The lease contract with the finance company includes a maximum loan value, lease period, interest rate, and payback conditions. The equipment purchase contract will include DCI compliance, order quantity, payment condition, and warranty and service conditions. And I will now share what we achieved from May 2009 to December 2010. DCK kept full deploy mode in May 2009. By the end of 2010, we had installed 106 theaters, which translates to 829 screens. The 106 theaters are fully converted to the digital system, including local network, and they are designed to be fully automated. Only 12% of the new releases were digitally distributed in the first quarter of 2009. Then, from DCK business launch in July 2009, digital distribution increased dramatically. And 18 months later, which was the end of 2010, 90% of new releases were distributed digitally. Initially, the equipment usage was around 20%, but it has now reached 95%. This is about 20% faster than our original projection made at the business planning stage. DCK is planning to complete rollout by 2011 and projecting to deploy on 1,300 screens by the end of this year. That would result in the deploying to 65% of the Korean market. And for the whole Korean market, 85% of the screens would be digitally converted. DCK is planning to utilize annual scenario to implement an efficient management system. We are additionally exploring some new business opportunities. Finally, I conclude with some advice for those planning a digital deployment business or those who have yet to join the program. First, if you are considering a business model like ours, it is advantageous to start early and allow ample time for establishing business foundation and conducting contract negotiation. Second, there are many challenges that small to medium-sized theater operators will face if they decide to pursue deploying business independently. A joint venture may be an option. However, this approach will require more planning time and added cost. I recommend them to consider contacting an existing deployment company in your region. Third, should you decide to enter the deployment business, take external variables into account while devising a finance plan, such as the financial challenges we face. Fourth, you must expect some instability issues in the early stages. Therefore, you should remember that having close cooperation with manufacturers and local service vendors is very important in stabilizing the operation early. And finally, NOC is essential for efficient operational management, so please consider it from the planning stage. That's the end of my presentation. I would like to express a warm and sincere thank you to local and foreign partners. Thank you.
Thank you very much, James. That was fascinating. It's worth pointing out, I think, that Korea is the first major territory which is on course to fully convert to 100% digital. There are many countries around the world, about 35–40% digital at the moment, and Korea looks as if it might, well, by the end of 2012, be fully digital.